How would your life be if you took 100% responsibility for it? Welcome to Chapman's Notes. Today we're going to look at success principle number 1 with Jack Canfield. Chapman's Notes is when we take a book, we look at it, I gave you some psychological principles to go along with it and some tools to use that book and apply it if you don't have time to read it. So with this first principle, taking 100% responsibility for your life. Now, whenever I have this conversation with my students about this idea, we always have a debate back and forth. Well, what about determinism? This is a very free will thing, and there's lots of things that impact people. How can someone be 100% responsible for everything? Now, I will give you that. Jack Canfield does not really consider some of the things that might be a part of our society that have an influence on people, particularly things like ageism, sexism, racism, those things that have to do with discriminatory factors that stop a person from reaching the results they would like to reach. In the same token, though, if we look at our history, our country has had these problems for a long time. And if we go back to when there was slavery, there have always been people that have overcome the situations. Rather it was the slave that would be reading and writing at night, even though it was illegal, over fear of dying or being killed, and they still taught themselves or still learned and adapted despite whatever barriers were in place. So that still leaves us at the point that we can ask this question: how would your life be different if you took 100% responsibility for everything in it? And we got to start with the first question, though. Are you 100% responsible for your life? Now, if you're answering that question honestly, it really shouldn't take you that long to answer. It's either going to be yes or it's going to be no. No one's judging you if it's no. There are plenty of people that the answer is no. And if you're not sure, you said yes and you're kind of like teeter-tottering, maybe it's not yes, here are some symptoms that will help clarify if it's a no for you. The main ones he mentions in his book are blaming and complaining. So blaming about your boss. Blaming your boss for the fact that you didn't get a promotion, or blaming the weather, or blaming traffic, or blaming your equipment. Blaming a number of things. That's the reason that you didn't get the results that you want. Or complaining. And these things usually go together. Now, the interesting thing about complaining is if we complain about something, generally we have some picture of what we would like to see. And then the question becomes, well, if you have a picture of what you would like to see, how come you're refusing to take the actions to get the results you'd like to see? Now, I'll give you an example of one that might seem like something you can't really control. I live in a state that has winter. And people often complain about winter. They say, oh, they don't like the weather. And we can't control the weather. But you can control where you live, right? So what that means is you've decided to stay where you're at and not move to a place that has warmer weather for whatever reason. Maybe there are risks that you didn't want to take. You didn't want to have to relocate, all those different things. But that's the truth, is that you are not willing to take those risks that are necessary to get to this other place, even though you know what a sunny, how you'd want to spend your winter. You'd want to be in a sunny place. The whole idea is you see a picture of something and you know what it would look like, but you haven't been willing to take the risk to get there. Other things that we want to think about besides those symptoms that help us let us know if we are not taking responsibility is, what is the benefit really to taking 100% responsibility? It's scary. Like we use the term adulting, and I know nowadays people are kind of scared of adulting or taking responsibility, because then we have nobody else left to blame, and who wants to live that kind of life? But I'll tell you, it's scary not to live responsibly. When you don't live responsibly, you actually perpetuate a state of anxiety. And how does anxiety operate? Well, anxiety is physiological. It's activated by your sympathetic system, and your fight or flight gets activated when you don't know what's going to happen, when you can't predict what's going to happen, when things are outside of your control. So if you live in a world where you don't take responsibility for your life, that means you give responsibility to other people, other things. And you have to wake up every day wondering what's going to happen. How is this going to go? I don't know what this result's going to be. Am I going to be late today? Am I going to be on time? Is my boss going to be nice? Are they going to be mean? How much money am I going to make? All of those things are worries that you now have to be concerned with. If you decide to take 100% responsibility for your life, that means you're going to be in the role of a creator. Creator has some benefits to it. If you are a creator, you're going to be empowered. And this can be like a shield for anxiety to some level. So if you're a creator, that means that you know that any situation, anything that happens to you, it happens because of some behavior you did or some behavior you didn't do, and that caused you to allow the situation to happen. And what that means though is you could change the behavior so you can get a different result, or no longer allow the other behavior that happened to you. So you can create or you can deconstruct. And this has the ability to reduce anxiety, because any situation you're in that you don't want to be in, you can change your behaviors and that will change your results. And you can continue to change your behaviors until you get the results that you want. That's where the power is at. That's how you can live powerfully instead of powerless. The other thing to think about is in this chapter, he talks about this concept of event plus response equals outcome. That is very consistent with some psychological principles, as is this whole idea. So that event plus outcome equals response is a cognitive behavioral kind of approach. Now, there are a couple theorists there. You have Aaron Beck, you have Albert Ellis, and his theory is rational and emotive behavior theory. And this also goes along with choice theory, which is not necessarily CBT, it's more like a humanistic existential, but they all believe in this idea of choice and choice around your thoughts. If you are thoughtful or precise about what you're thinking, then you can influence how you behave and what you feel, because all of it stems from your thoughts. And then this ties in with an existential theory. If you're familiar with philosophy or this part of the theory of psychology, then you know existentialists believe that man creates meaning. So the meaning that you create, the narrative that you construct around a situation, is going to lead to results in terms of your feelings, how you feel about the circumstances. And that's also going to have an impact on what behaviors you do that lead to greater results in the future. So if you make the decision to be 100% responsible for your life, you're going to be in the role of creator. You're going to be empowered. You're going to be powerful instead of powerless. You're going to be able to block off anxiety, because you're going to fend off that activation of your sympathetic system by realizing any circumstance you get in, you can change your behaviors to change your results. You realize it may not happen overnight, but you're willing to create and take the risk to make that happen. We will stop there for now. In our next video, I'm going to give you some specific pointers on how to do that, how to live more responsibly. What exactly would you have to do in order to do that?